I've been seeing some sensational headlines from news reports to different gaming outlets and channels on YouTube claiming that Nintendo is in trouble. And in my opinion, when we start to get more granular into this, I don't think that completely paints a clear picture as to what's going on with Nintendo and the Nintendo Switch 2. And in this video, I'm going to go over whether or not the Nintendo Switch 2 is facing some sort of potential downfall in the 2026 year, or if this is just an overstated misunderstanding of what's currently happening in the market. So let's take a look. One of the biggest claims that Nintendo is in trouble is basically due to two things, and that's that in the 2025 year, during the holiday season, the Nintendo Switch 2 did not hit the record-breaking numbers that some analysts expected, or people generally expected, in the market. However, this is a very narrow view of what's actually going on when it comes to video games generally. And what I mean by that is we are in a different market in 2025 than we've ever really been in recent years. And what I mean by that is we have a lot of economic turmoil that's happening in a lot of different ways, in terms of inflation, in terms of the RAM crisis, in terms of just general parts for gaming devices skyrocketing in price. And unfortunately, when you really look at it, gaming is becoming less and less affordable. I make no secret of the fact that in my house I have this home arcade, and just looking at the cost of even some of those units due to part shortages or increases in what these take to manufacture, they're not cheap anymore. They're not really cheap from any brand that I know of in terms of getting these home arcade machines. And that's not just unique to this or even Nintendo. If you actually start to do a bit of digging, you'll see that Nintendo wasn't the only one that was down in sales. And so what I mean by that is, if you look at PlayStation, for example, they also had a lackluster holiday season. Yes, they had a bit of a boom during Black Friday due to greatly reducing the cost of a PS5, but for the most part, during the holiday season, they were under their previous years in terms of holiday sales for the PlayStation 5 as well. And what this means is that this isn't just a Nintendo-based issue. This is a industry-wide issue for all different sorts of manufacturers and game developing companies or giants like Nintendo and Sony. And so painting this sort of picture that the Nintendo Switch 2 is facing some sort of massive turmoil, in my mind, is completely sensationalizing something that's not necessarily true. And yes, some analysts are looking at 2026 as going to be a trying year for both Nintendo, Sony, and anybody who's really in the video game space. And that's purely due in part to the sad fact that gaming is going up so much in price, and people in a lot of ways can't afford these units. Gone are the days of the $100 GameCube or $100 PlayStation 2 that you could buy. These things are getting up there in cost. The Nintendo Switch 2 in Canada is, after taxes, over $700. The PlayStation 5, while a cheaper option, is still $500 plus, depending on the actual type of model you go for, and if that comes with a disc drive or not, or if you're looking at the Pro. And so what I'm trying to get at is that gaming just simply isn't cheap. And I think all manufacturers and all game developers are going to be facing a pretty weird 2026. And the holiday season was just a byproduct of that. It was just a signal that these things are not becoming affordable enough anymore for consumers to purchase and really have in their homes. And we saw that reflected in the sales data. And I think that in 2026, unless something cataclysmic happens, we're going to see this trend continue.